We got one. The Miami Hurricanes have just beaten Florida and Florida State for one of the freakiest athletes in the class of 2027. He's staying home. Demarcus DeRoche, welcome to the U.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I know it's so early, class of 2027, but Miami's got the third rated class of 2027 right now. Keep building it, man. I am Alex Donno, University of Miami alumnus, co-host of Locked On ACC, and host of Postgame on the Miami Hurricanes radio network. And thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts, free on YouTube, and we are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. On this episode, we got two special guests on today. A little bit later on, we're going to talk with my paisan, PHIL Russomanno, about season keys and about that Notre Dame game. We're going to break down matchups because, as of yesterday, we know who's going to be starting at quarterback for the Irish. They're going with CJ Carr, the redshirt freshman. Really, really good arm. What does that mean for your Miami Hurricanes? But let's talk first about this newest Miami Hurricanes verbal commit, because this is a player who really excites me. We're joined now by the man we call the recruiting overlord, host of the Portal podcast, host of Locked On Seminoles. Brian Smith is with us. So, Brian, Miami adds a big verbal commitment last night from one of the more interesting players in the class of 2027, Demarcus D Roach, who a lot of the recruiting sites have him listed as a wide receiver. He, by the way, is 6'5.5", 210 pounds with an 83.5-inch wingspan. So I see some of the services listing him as a wideout. But when he camped at Miami last month, he was working out at tight end and edge rusher. He's listed as an athlete. I guess I'll start with this. What position do you project D Roach at in college?
It was interesting watching his film because he played backer, he played edge, he played over the slot, he played wide receiver. They used him everywhere at his last high school. So I don't know. He's just over 200 pounds now, but he's really wiry. Like, he reminds me of, like, the first thing I think of is some of the old school Miami defensive ends, because they took a lot of kids that were like 210 coming out of high school. You had 25, 30 pounds. Like Kenny Holmes, some guys like that. That's what I saw. But tight ends, the other side of the ball, same kind of thing. And he's got hands. Like, he's got soft hands. So it just depends on how big he gets. But right now, whether it's Miami, myself, or anybody else, it's just a projection. Remember, this young man has not 1 but 2 years left to prep football. Maybe he develops something that you can't disregard as a defensive lineman. Maybe he's just so good at catching the ball. They try to make him a big receiver, but that is a really good athlete no matter where he plays.
Yeah, he's originally from Key West. Now he plays at Cardinal Gibbons in Broward County. So I would imagine that, one of the reasons, and he's a 4-star player now. So recruiting services are starting to figure out that D Roach is a guy, but I would imagine he was probably a bit of like a late bloomer in terms of the scouting, because I don't know how the scouts, if they get all the way down to Key West very often, Brian.
Yeah, that's a difficult thing. There have been a few guys that have been from Key West. Florida State's got one guy on their roster right now from there, but it's hard for that school literally to even get games scheduled. Nobody wants to travel all the way down there, and so they play a lot of road games, etc. They don't get scouted much. So that kid was probably best to get out of that and go somewhere else where he could play against a lot better competition.
So D Roach chooses Miami. This is a verbal pledge. It's a long way to go before signing day 2027, but he chooses Miami over Florida State, Florida, NC State, Auburn, and Louisville. Any idea, Brian, Florida and Florida State, how hard were they, and maybe still are, going after D Roach?
I haven't heard yet. I need to look into that. That's one of the things on my calendar for today. But he was one of the guys, when I watched his film, he's what I call a 3-clipper. It's an obvious, anybody can evaluate him. So I assume he'll end up with 30-plus offers, maybe even 40. So in my opinion, this is one of those where the recruitment is just starting and Miami's in the lead. I know that's never what fans want to hear, but but still, he's too good. You're going to recruit him, especially with where he's from. So I would imagine that he will be very coveted by everybody in the SEC, ACC, probably some Big Ten schools too.
Yeah, so some more info here on Demarcus DeRoche, class of 2027. I mentioned 6'5.5", 210 pounds at this moment, long wingspan at 83.5 inches. He plays multiple positions, like Brian mentioned. He's also a multiple sport athlete. In basketball, he averages nearly 10.7 rebounds, a block and a half per year. Miami views him as someone with an elite frame to go with high-level athleticism, can play on either side of the ball in college, whose frame, character, and wanting to stay home made him a must-get for 2027. So sounds to me like which exact side of the ball, which exact position is still up in the air for the newest Miami Hurricanes verbal commit. So looking now, Brian, at this class of 2027, so early, Miami actually has the third-rated class in the entire country right now. So Kenton Dobson, who probably will reclassify, is currently the top-rated recruit of class of 2027. The cornerback, four-star wide receiver Amari Stevens, four-star safety Jalen Jones. Now DeRoche also joins offensive tackle Zaquan Linton in the class. How you feeling about the foundation so far for 2027? And you notice, Brian, a lot of South Florida talent where they're kind of struggling with that in 2026 right now.
It is bizarre. You and I have talked about this in a multitude of ways, texting, on the phone, on the shows. Like, this is the least amount you're ever going to see Miami recruit South Florida with any success. I don't know what the deal is for 26, but they're trying to make up for it in 27. Maybe it's just better fits. I don't know. But if you're Miami, you're going to feel better about recruiting your own backyard. That just makes sense. So they're, especially the private schools in Broward. We all know that's where it starts. American Heritage. You got to get Chaminade, you got to get STA, Cardinal Gibbons, and all these different programs. There's still Dillard and all those too, but they have to be able to get some of those kids. They can't all go to Florida State, Georgia, etc. if you're Miami. So that's important, but those are all good players they already have in the foundation. So this is how Miami started their dynasty in the late 70s, early 80s. So if I'm a Miami fan, that's what I want to see.
When we come back, we're going to keep Brian with us, and we're going to shift our focus to season opener, August 31st, Hurricanes hosting Notre Dame. I know Brian's got some opinions, and I know this not only because I watch Brian every single day, but Miami fans keep showing up in my inbox like, hey, you got to set Brian Smith straight on his Notre Dame prediction. I will do no such thing, but I value his opinion. You want to keep it locked right here. We're only getting started on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. Most people can't name all of their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch does all the heavy lifting for you. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Guys, I've been using Monarch for these past several months, and it's incredible the insights that I get having all of my financial information and insights in one place. I've been able to cut down on my spending, my overspending. I've been able to budget so much smarter. Do not let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use our code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com. Use our code LOCKEDONCollege. Folks, we're also proudly brought to you by Open Phone. If you're running a business, every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you needed a service. If the first person didn't answer, did you wait? Probably not. You moved on. That's why you need Open Phone, so you never miss an opportunity to connect with your customers. Open Phone is the #1 business phone system designed to streamline and scale your customer communications. Do you juggle 2 phones just to keep your business and personal calls separate? Open Phone will solve that instantly. Your whole team can share one number and respond to customers like a shared inbox. No more, who's handling this? And the AI agent handles after-hours calls, answers common questions, and captures leads, so I never miss a customer again. See why over 60,000 businesses trust Open Phone. They're offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnCollege. That's openphone.com/LockedOnCollege. We'll even port over your existing numbers for free. Open Phone. No missed calls, no missed customers. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen. For your next listen, make sure you check out The Portal, one of the newest shows here on the Locked On Network, hosted by our guy Brian Smith. Talks everything NIL, transfer portal, recruiting, keeps you up to date, available free wherever you get your podcasts, and available free on YouTube. Brian, I respect your takes unconditionally. And so I've had some of our listeners show up, and it's like, hey, Brian's picking Notre Dame to beat Miami comfortably. You need to take him to task for that. Listen, just because I may disagree with you doesn't mean I don't value your opinion. And Notre Dame also has a starting quarterback now officially named with CJ Carr. So let's start with that. Were you surprised that Carr gets the nod over Minchie, and why do you think that happened?
I have no clue, like with the roller coaster that happened there. Like, historically, Notre Dame is a program, because it's got so much fanfare, it's impossible to keep news quiet. And the only thing that some of the guys that I worked with when I worked in Notre Dame media a long, long time ago, they're still there. All those guys were hearing Minchie. I listened to a podcast this morning trying to find out more. And one of them said on the podcast, he's like, I got in my car and I saw it on my phone and I about fell over. Like, these are people that are at practice and stuff. So I'm as shocked as you, but originally it was supposed to be Carr, and he's a guy that's an incredible passer, but he takes a lot of chances is what the rumor is. And that's, I mean, we got to remember Freeman is a defensive coach. He's kind of like Mario. He's pretty conservative. So maybe he didn't like that at first. I don't know. Maybe he played great in this last scrimmage this past weekend, but as far as what he can do, he will throw guys open. He has an incredible ability to read defenses. For those who don't know, he's Lloyd Carr's grandson. His entire life, he's been around Michigan football. It's ironic, he ended up at Notre Dame, but he's a little bit different than most guys. I know he's only a second-year player, but the way he plays is a little different. I expect him to make at least, and I said this before anybody was named, either him or Minchie would have made at least one just dumb mistake. That's what first-time starters do. But he's also going to make some throws that other guys don't. So, and he's also got Jeremiah Love in the backfield. They'll probably lean on that, I'm sure, quite a bit.
I'm not going to claim to be a CJ Carr expert, and like, why would I be when the guy literally has no competitive reps? So I'm sorry that I didn't watch Notre Dame's spring game or wherever y'all see this guy playing, because when I put out a YouTube short the other day, like reacting to CJ Carr, I referred to him as prototypical pocket passer that they chose over the dual threat guy, and I get a bunch of comments, Brian, from Notre Dame fans that are like, oh, this shows me you know nothing about Notre Dame if you think CJ Carr can't run. I'm sorry. All right. So apparently the guy's Michael Vick or something, Brian. Like, should I be worried also about CJ Carr's legs in addition to the arm?
There are two different kinds of guys that can run. The ones that extend plays to throw, and then there's guys like Minchie that'll score a touchdown and do a backflip afterwards.
Right.
Minchie's a freaky athlete. Like in the spring game, he scored a touchdown and did a backflip. I don't think CJ's doing that. So I think that based on his high school film, seeing him play 7-on-7, he's a loose, fluid athlete, but he's not going to make what they call as a running back, you're always +1. The free safety, he's not blocked. You got to make that first guy miss if you're going to hit a home run. CJ may not make a lot of guys miss. Now, Minchie, he very much could do that. He is a true dual threat, but Carr is good at avoiding the rush. So against Bain, against some, they got a plethora of passers. I don't even know which guys are going to play off the edge for them. They got plenty. That'll be a great battle, by the way. I think he will struggle at times, but they're going to get the ball out quick or their game plan stinks. It's one or the other. With a young quarterback, you can't have him with a bunch of plays that are slow developing against Miami. That's poor coaching. So Mike Denbrock's smart enough to know that. I think they will take some shots. They will go max protection with him to use his ability to throw deep. That's his best ability. But as a runner, he's just going to few bootlegs, maybe a draw or something, but for the most part, make the first guy miss and get rid of the ball.
All right, so he's not a statue. We'll give you guys that. All right, so look at the big picture for this matchup. Notre Dame is favored by 2.5 points in this one. So FanDuel does think Miami can keep it close. I know there's confidence on the Miami side. I'm sure there's confidence on the Notre Dame side. Who are you going with this one who are you going with in this one, Brian, and why?
I like Notre Dame because of two reasons. Their special teams are absolutely elite, arguably the best in the country. Miami last year was not. They were 122nd in like kickoff coverage, something like that. By the way, Jeremiah Love and Jarian Price are the kickoff return guys for Notre Dame. Good luck. I don't know who, by the way, who is Miami's kickoff guy? Is it somebody that's going to boot it through?
It should be. They got Keelan Marion from BYU who returned 2 kickoffs to the house last year.
He's great.
So they're bullish. Yeah.
What about the guy that's going to kick the ball for Miami to Notre Dame?
Yeah, it's either going to be, so they got 2 kickers, Carter Davis, who's got the bigger leg from FAU. He might be the kickoff specialist. And then Bert Auburn, the former Texas place kicker, he might be the one who focuses on the field goal. So, I just, there's no more Borgalis brothers, unfortunately. So hopefully whoever's kicking those things off is putting them to the back of the end zone.
Yeah, the Borg, Miami fans, you guys were spoiled with those guys. I mean, I remember watching them warm up like at a game, like they're putting it 20 yards up the net down the middle. They were NFL kind of players. Anyway, the other thing is Jeremiah Love. I know your guy, Comet Kane or whatever came on. He did a pod recently saying Jeremiah Love wasn't elite.
Oh, yeah, I don't,
Nice guy, terrible take. Jeremiah Love is a dude. The only reason he didn't have more yards last year is he had Riley Leonard. He's going to make at least 1 or 2 plays that are not coachable, and you can't even blame your guy about. He's a special player. I think it'll be close throughout, and I think Notre Dame might even trail in the second half, but I don't think Jeremiah Love will let them lose. I mean, somebody thinks I picked Notre Dame 31-20, but I think it'll be close throughout. They'll kick a field goal or you get a late score to clinch, but I don't think that Miami's receivers against Notre Dame secondary is a very good matchup. Notre Dame secondary is insanely good. Miami fans were yelling at me and Mike. I'm like, we got just as good. No, you don't. No, you don't.
All right. So what would be, from a Miami point of view, if they can pull off the upset, what has to happen? What would be your keys?
First thing is the obvious. If you don't take advantage of CJ Carr, like again, minimum, he's going to make one just dumb mistake. And this is a pet peeve of mine. I say this all the time on Locked On Seminoles, etc. I have 2 pet peeves, really. Don't hit a quarterback getting ready to go out of bounds. They're always going to throw the flag. They're going to benefit the quarterback. And if a receiver runs the wrong route or something, you've got a freebie, you can't miss it. Carr's going to give you a freebie somewhere. You got to house that sucker. If you do not, or at least put your offense in a really good spot, like if you drop those, you will lose. Secondarily, they've got to be better on special teams than what I'm predicting. Go look it up yourself. I'm sure I'm going to get a bunch of hate from Canes fans. Notre Dame's special teams are elite. A lot of games that lost or won, especially early in the year, on special teams. If Miami is going to win, they've got to have a special play there. And they got the athletes. Not worried about their return game. Like Notre Dame needs to be careful there. It's coverage. If they kick to Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, I don't care if they get 2 yards. I will come on your show and make fun of you. Like that's just terrible coaching. Do not kick to them. Do not punt to them. And they got tons of guys. Do not do it. So that's the areas that I would look at. Turnovers and special teams, especially early games. Alex, those are always really, really important.
All right, well, here's the good news. Brian Smith has 2 different X accounts for you to direct your complaints to. You can direct you can direct your complaints to at FB_Scout_Florida and at LO_the Portal. He is the awesome host of the Portal podcast. And like I said, I respect your takes unconditionally. When Brian Smith speaks, even if I don't agree, I listen. So thank you so much. And by the way, when we come back, we're going to be joined by my paisan, PHIL Russomanno, going to take a deeper look at this Notre Dame game and some keys for the upcoming season. You want to keep it locked right here. We're not done yet on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. I'm so pumped for Prize Picks this season. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. Preseason is already heating up. College football isn't far behind. We're in week 0, guys. Whether you've got your eye on big-name quarterbacks or breakout running backs, Prize Picks makes it easy to get in the game. You're looking at NFL players like Joe Burrow, Tyreek Hill, Saquon Barkley, Josh Allen. Prize Picks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. I've been using Prize Picks since 2021. I've been addicted. I love it. I can get a lineup in before my coffee finishes brewing. It's that fast. The flex play option is a total game changer. Even when one of your picks misses, you can still double your money. Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Download the Prize Picks app today and use our code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks, run your game. My friends, we're also brought to you by FanDuel. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day. It's a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions, I should say. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or you're ready to crown your Super Bowl champion before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. Take a flyer on the MVP race. You're feeling bullish on Tua this year? Go get your odds. Go make your pick on August 26th. Crown your Super Bowl champion in August. Maybe this is the Baltimore Ravens year, or parlay your division winner dark horses. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Our countdown is now at 11 days until Miami opens up the season against the Crying Irish of Notre Dame. And we love to welcome back very good friend of ours, Triple Cane, Miami MBA, PHIL Russomanno is with us. Phil, we were just talking off air, and I was just talking on air with Brian Smith about like how surprising it was that even though like all the intel at Notre Dame was pointing to Kenny Minchey, and then they go and name CJ Carr the starter. What was your reaction to that?
Honestly, I was shocked. I was really expecting Minchey to be the starter week 1. So hearing that news, he must have had like a really good scrimmage or whatever those like last practices were that really swayed it for Freeman. So, or it's going to be interesting to see him down at Hard Rock week 1 starting.
So I don't know if like that particular move necessarily changes the way you handicap the game, but what are you thinking heading into Miami versus Notre Dame? How confident are you on the Hurricane side?
I remember the last time we played Notre Dame, it was my first year at Miami, actually, when I was an undergrad. And I remember for that game, I was really not nervous at all because the college game day was there, the whole works. And we ended up doing what we did in that game, which was probably the most fun football game I've ever been to in my entire life. This year, I would say I'm cautiously optimistic because I don't want to jinx anything, but I definitely like how we match up with Notre Dame. The real question is going to be how our defense really takes that next step. But going into it, I definitely have seen and heard a lot from practice that sounds like everything's like kind of melding together, which is exactly what you want to hear leading up into the game.
Do you have any keys for this one? Like Miami's got to execute X, Y, Z to get the dub.
I think the D-line has to step up in this game. I mean, Notre Dame's going to bring a rushing attack that's one of the best in the country. Their offensive line's also said to be one of the best in the country too. It is funny because there's a lot of similarities on the line of scrimmage on offense for our team and Notre Dame. So really whoever's defensive line is going to get the better of that other offensive line, and whoever's going to be able to stop the run is going to have a really big advantage in this game.
How concerned would you be about Miami getting their passing game on track? Because, like, just from strictly the Miami point of view, Carson Beck's been looking great, Phil, and I think the receiver group have really stepped up. But on the flip side, I have a lot of respect for Notre Dame's defensive secondary. They lost some guys. They still have some dudes there. And, you know, they were one of the best, if not the best I think they were the best against the pass statistically all season last year. So, you know, do you think Miami's just going to really need to focus on the run, or will we be able to hit big plays in the passing game too?
I think they're going to go with Dawson's like really philosophy on it being balanced. I think what's great in this situation is that we have a quarterback that's very, very, very experienced. I mean, Carson Beck's played in games like this before. So it's really nothing that I'm really concerned about for the quarterback aspect. It's just making sure that the young receivers are where they need to be, where like the scheme is, like making sure they find those like empty parts of the field. From what we heard in practice, are really executing on that. So hopefully that continues into the game. I would say like if it's like a scale 1 through 10, my concern for it's like about like a 4 or a 5, just because it's a big game, first week of the year. Usually the offense kind of lags behind the defense during like camp, but it's been like kind of getting together, which is a good thing. And I think that kind of connection with Carson Beck's really expanding throughout the entire preseason into this first game.
So do you have a prediction? And I know you mentioned you don't want to jinx anything, cautiously optimistic. So we're tempting fate here. But if I make you predict this opening game, how do you think it's going to go?
I think Miami's going to win the game. And just because of history from it, Notre Dame's 0-6 in their last 6 attempts getting down to Miami. So I think that the history is there. I think that there's going to be a really, really hostile environment for Notre Dame at Hard Rock Stadium. I know we like to hear on social media that Miami's not that tough of a place to play away, but hearing that stadium for the last time Notre Dame was in town, and it being the first week of the year with a holiday the day after when people have off, it's going to be very loud, very hostile environment for Notre Dame. But I think Miami has what it takes to pull it off. I really do.
I'm with you on that. And of course, like, okay, so some of the attendance criticisms are valid because, when teams like Duke, Georgia Tech come to town, yeah, there's going to be more empty seats than there should be. But when teams like Notre Dame come to town, Florida State, primetime games, that place is going to be crazy because South Floridians love an event. And if you're not bringing an actual event-worthy atmosphere, ticket prices aren't cheap at Hard Rock. If you're not bringing a legitimate event, then yeah, sometimes the attendance is going to be lacking, but it's not going to be the case for that game. All right, by your math, which I agree with, and who am I to argue? You've got a master's degree. I don't. Miami starts the season 1-0. Can that set the tone for the rest of the year? And what are you thinking in terms of Miami's record this year and whether or not we're going to get back to that ACC championship game?
So it's really interesting how this year plays out because I would say 2 of our toughest games are out of conference. So you have the luxury of really losing one of those games. Do I think we're going to lose them? I honestly don't. I think it's that stretch after that bye week when you have 7 straight ACC games is going to be pretty tough for sure. I would say if we're going to drop one, it's going to be that SMU game away or one of those sneaky ones like the Virginia Tech, the Pitt, at the end of the year. But I would say I honestly think we're going to beat both Florida and Notre Dame. I just have a feeling that that's going to be the case and that the ACC is going to be our hardest part of the year. So I would say a conservative estimate, I would say is 10-2, but if they really get over that hump, being 11-1 going into the ACC championship game is very attainable for this team.
In Miami's talent level, I had the chance to be around Mario Cristobal, quite a bit over the past couple months, and he legitimately seems to be raving. Obviously he's never, for him, he's never going to be completely over the moon because it's about the work. It's not about the finish, but he really does seem to think that 2.5 deep, that Miami's got the best roster he's coached so far to this point. And I think that's going to make a big difference, Phil, especially when people will, pick apart some of the late game coaching decisions. Well, guess what? If you're not in as many bad situations with 2 minutes to go, you're not going to have the opportunity to make bad calls.
Oh, yeah. I mean, even for what we saw last year, we were at the spring game last year. Cam Ward looked amazing. But that secondary, you're okay, we know Cam Ward's good, but is it because he's that good the secondary looks like this? And then it turned out that it wasn't that reason. It just wasn't that good on that part of the field. But then this year, you definitely do hear a lot of a different story. There's not a glaring weakness like we saw last year, which definitely speaks to how they really attacked that positions that were really a problem last year. But of course, every team's going to have flaws, but there's no flaw that's a real Achilles heel, I would say, on this team. And there's depth too, which we haven't really seen in a really long time.
Does Miami get into the 12-team college football playoff this year?
I think they do. I mean, I think if they go 11-1, 10-2, if they really go 7-1 in conference, for example, and they lose one of those Notre Dame Florida games, and then they beat one of them and they play against Clemson, if you beat Clemson, you're automatically in, which would be phenomenal. But if it's a close game and they lose, they're going to probably put Miami in, just given they have probably a top 10 victory in Notre Dame or a top 15 victory at the time with Florida. So it definitely boosts their schedule. And you have to hope that a Louisville gets in later at the year for top 25, kind of boost that strength of schedule going into it, because we definitely don't want to be in a situation where we were last year if we leave it into the committee's hands.
No, you certainly don't want to be in that situation. Well, Football is nearly back. You got, some not great games week 0, but then week 1, we go hard with 3 top 10 matchups, including Miami hosting Notre Dame. So we appreciate PHIL Russomanno. You see where to fall. I got to speak to your manager about your X account. Like we got to get something a little more mature than P Sizzle 22684. I'll be the Karen that asks to speak to your manager. But Phil, we appreciate your time as always, my friend. Enjoy the rest of your week, and let's go Canes.
Yep, go Canes.
We'll talk to everyone next time on another episode of Locked On Canes. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.